There was a beautiful village surrounded by lush mountains and gentle rivers, where a wise farmer lived. He didn't have much wealth or vast lands, but what he had was the most precious thing, a happy and contented soul. The people in the village often wondered how he remained happy all the time, and his smile remained a mystery to them. One bright morning, the wise farmer was sitting under the shade of a tree, repairing an old wooden wheel. During this time, a young boy, who appeared quite troubled, approached the farmer. He had been observing the farmer for a long time and could no longer hold back his curiosity. "Wise farmer," the young boy greeted him, "I've noticed that you are always happy. You work so hard, your farm is small, and yet you are never troubled or sad. How is that possible? Don't you ever feel bad when life gets tough?" "Son," he said, "happiness doesn't come from what we have or don't have. It depends on how we look at whatever we do have." The young boy was still puzzled. "But when bad times come, how can you remain happy? Don't you ever think that everything is lost?" The farmer shook his head slowly and replied, "There are difficult times in life, and sometimes everything seems to be ruined. But I remember an event from my life that may help you." The farmer leaned back against the tree and began his story. "Years ago, I had a very beautiful orchard that I had worked hard on. The trees were tall and strong, and every season they bore sweet fruits. Those fruits fed my family, and what was left over I sold in the market. My life was simple, but it was happy. Then one year a storm came. It was so fierce that I had never imagined anything like it before. Strong winds were blowing, and rain fell incessantly for days. When the storm finally stopped, I went to my orchard and saw that the trees had been uprooted and debris covered the soil. Everything I had worked for was destroyed." The young boy was shocked. "That's terrible. What did you do?" The farmer slowly shook his head. "At first I was sad. I thought that my life had no meaning anymore. I sat in the debris of the orchard, wondering how I could ever be happy again. But as I began clearing the rubble, I realized that the storm had softened the soil and it had become very fertile. I understood that the storm had taken much, but it had also given me a new opportunity. So I decided to plant new trees. This was not an easy task. It took time, patience, and hard work. But those new trees grew stronger than the old ones, and their fruit was even sweeter. What I had thought was the end of my happiness was, in fact, the beginning of something new." The young boy spoke in amazement. "So the storm that destroyed everything ended up helping you?" The farmer smiled and said, "Yes, life is like the seasons. Sometimes storms come, and sometimes the sunshine follows. If we focus only on the storm, we might miss the fertile ground that follows. This is the lesson I learned. Within every difficulty, there is a hidden opportunity. We just need to see it." The young boy thought for a while and asked, "So how can you remain happy in bad times? When everything seems to go wrong, how can you still see the good?" The farmer chuckled and replied, "It's not always easy, son. But every morning when I wake up, I ask myself, what am I grateful for today? I remember God's countless blessings, my friends, my health, my children, and so much more. There is always something to be thankful for in life, no matter how small it may seem." The young boy nodded and said, "Now I understand. Instead of focusing on the bad times, we should keep our eyes on the good things." The farmer smiled and added, "Yes, and one more thing. I always remind myself that every pain will eventually end. Just like that storm that destroyed my orchard, bad times don't last forever. When difficult times come, I tell myself, this too shall pass." The young boy, now deeply impressed, decided to live his life according to the farmer's advice. He started to focus on the small joys in his life, and over time, he began to see that by looking for goodness, even in his bad times, his life became more joyful. True happiness isn't about what life gives or takes away, but about how we choose to look at life. The wise farmer's wisdom taught the villagers that happiness is a choice that comes from within, and the things we see are part of life.